Torches blazed and sacred trance were praised. The artist is Iron Maiden. Welcome to episode 1 of Album Armageddon.
Hey! Oh, the timing.
The time is superb. Right, perfect. Welcome to episode 1 of Album Armageddon. I'm your host, Si Stevens, and joining me are my co-hosts, Cath McCauley.
Hello.
Rob McCauley.
Greetings.
And Stu Whitehouse.
Watcha. Is that my catchphrase?
It is now. It's a t-shirt. So, what is Album Armageddon? Put simply, Album Armageddon is where we take 2 albums from a single band or artist, pair the tracks up, track 1 versus track 1, track 2 versus track 2, etc., and discuss and decide on a winner for each track. There's not to say there aren't rules, there are, but on occasion there may be some creative license for matching the tracks up, but we'll cross those bridges when we come to them. So what are the rules? Well, the first rule, rule 1, albums must have the same number of tracks in order for them to be matched up. Rule 2, no live arena stadium tracks. These are normally found elsewhere on the album in question or on a previous album. Rule 3, in the event of a voting tie, the host who chose the artist will have the overriding decision. Rule 4, an artist can only arrive in Armageddon once unless a genuine and strong argument can be made for them to feature a second time. However, an album can only feature once. And rule 5, the Napalm Death card can only be used during the discussion of a track and can only be used once per show. The Napalm Death card? What's the Napalm Death card, I hear you saying? The Napalm Death card is only given to the host who chose the artist for the month. This card allows them to declare a track a winner regardless of the voting result. At the end of the show, we'll create a super album on Spotify featuring the winning tracks. So just so everyone's aware, we won't be critiquing the finer points of the music, such as the key of the song or the scale used, but we'll be sharing our thoughts, our feelings, and occasionally some stories around the songs. So as a word of warning, this is more passion than critique, so you might find the occasional F-bomb gets dropped throughout a show. So without any further delay, as our intro said, this month is Iron Maiden, and the albums are Number of the Beast versus Peace of Mind. Cath, you chose Iron Maiden, so why these albums?
I certainly did. These are what I consider to be Iron Maiden's finest albums that I listened to a lot when I was a teenager, or quite a young teenager, and I don't know, I just felt very strongly that because they're such strong albums, this would be a great opening for our podcast that start on a high with some classic English metal.
Woohoo.
Yeah. So the albums are also quite similar as well. They're very similar sort of style. They're the 3rd and 4th albums from Iron Maiden, released in the early 80s. So they're quite guitar-y, quite screamy, shouty, and they just got a really good energy to them for people who, like myself, who really like that sort of music.
Excellent. I mean, for me, personally, my first concert was Iron Maiden when I was a...
Wow.
And it was Dickinson's farewell concert.
Ha.
Oh, okay, right.
I remember it was recorded in a TV studio. I want to say it was Pinewood, because that's the sort of
Might have been.
Pinewood Studios is always where they do the TV things. And my older cousin scored tickets, and as I was just exploring like different music genres, he would often take me along if his group of friends ended up with a spare ticket. And
Nice.
I remember there was like a horror-style magician that was part of the concert.
Of
course
course.
it was.
Yep.
Yeah, obviously. And I remember him like amputating Steve Harris, like taking his hands and putting a guitar on,
Amazing.
and like him playing the solo to one of the songs, and they killed Dickinson at the end
Mhm.
in an Iron Maiden.
And that was his farewell gig.
Yeah,
as
it was
well.
his farewell gig. You know, like it was
Brilliant.
super cheesy and probably doesn't hold up in the present day whatsoever.
Oh, I don't know. I think Iron Maiden, they are all about the theatrics. And I'm very sorry to say I have never seen them live. I've only seen videos of them live, but I still think they're amazing.
I have also never seen them live, but in the process of reviewing the albums, I just happened to think, well, let's go and see what Iron Maiden are like in 2022 or 2023. So I looked up some live clips. First of all, Dickinson, I think he's 64 now. He sounds amazing still.
He does. Yeah,
he can still hit those notes. But what was even more amazing was the theatrical element has just gone. It's not so much a concert as I think at one point he was fighting their. They played The Trooper, which is one of the tracks we're going to talk about today, and he was having a sword fight with this giant Eddie figure sort of looming over him whilst singing the song. I mean, it was just pure theatre.
For those who don't know, who is Eddie?
Oh, Eddie is their mascot, and has appeared on, I think, every album cover since.
I think so. Yeah, all of them.
I think he's been on all of them, and he sort of changes guises throughout the years. So
he's mostly a zombie though, but he's been all sorts of different zombies. He's been an Egyptian zombie. He's been sort of a Jack the Ripper kind of zombie. He's been a sort of mythological zombie. He's been all of the zombies you could think of. He's been them.
I think the latest album he's a samurai zombie. So
why not? Why not?
Of course,
just like Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
I found a little mobile game as well, and they describe Eddie as the spirit of man.
Okay.
Oh.
And that's why he's like got like the Egyptian Eddie, and it's man through the ages.
Okay.
So
right.
I am interested to turn to Stuart at this point in the summation, because I think, Stuart, you described this ahead of going into listening to it as a particular challenge for you. So tell us more about that.
Definitely the wild card in these. Our three amazing, illustrious hosts really like Iron Maiden. This host,
not so much.
It's not saying I don't like Iron Maiden. They have merits. They are technically proficient beyond belief. When I've been listening to the album, they are like fantastic musicians. But they're playing all the wrong notes in my head. They're just there's nothing which really grabs me. It's like, oh, that's a good drum riff. Oh, okay. No, there's a 14-hour guitar solo. Okay, all right. Okay, here we go. Yep. So it's all, I can see where it is all predictable. But the thing is, though, I believe, like listening to you guys, it's all about nostalgia as well.
Yeah.
Now, if Iron Maiden, you never heard Iron Maiden before, and then you came to the plate today with that mind, would you have the same thing? And so I'm not really slagging off Iron Maiden. They're not a band for me. That's all. I'm just not into them. But
even if you were slagging them off, that's fine as well, because that's your opinion.
It is, yeah. But it's at the end of the day.
I mean, you'd be wrong, but that's still your opinion.
Well, but they are fantastic musicians, and Bruce can hit notes and stuff. I just find it really corny. All the Spinal Taps and the Bad News and all the typical rock stuff. It's just like, ooh,
I'm going to make a statement here, right? All of the bands that we're going to review throughout the course of this podcast, that we're not going to listen to a vocalist as good as Bruce Dickinson.
I would probably go with that. Me and Rob were talking about this the other week, about 2 weeks ago, and we were like talking about picking whether we had Dickinson over Di'Anio.
What? No contest.
And it's not that I'm not going to mention too much of Di'Anio, as I think it's something we could probably explore in a later episode. And I'm not hard and fast to prefer one over the other, because I think both singers change the entire style of the band. I think Maiden becomes more of a punky, abrupt, rocky band with Di'Anio, and then they become what they are with Dickinson.
Global megastars.
Yeah. I mean, Bruce's vocals are in the main theatrical. They're powerful. And when combined with lyrics that tell a story, which is something that me and Robert was discussing, that we appreciate so much more being older, is that pretty much 90% of Iron Maiden songs is inspired by a story of something.
Okay. Well, I'm going to interrupt you there because I want to introduce the two albums.
Sorry, I had one more thing to say, which was, Stuart, I can assure you that the word dated will be used in some of my summations as we go along, so take heart.
I dated Dolly Parton.
You dated Dolly Parton?
Well,
I
I
did.
did.
That's an
like
exclusive.
I dated Dolly Parton.
I was going to wait until that episode, but anyway.
So, without further ado, I'm going to give context for the first album, which is Number of the Beast. So, as I said earlier on, the album was released in the early 80s, and it marked the debut of vocalist Bruce Dickinson, who joined the band just in time for recording. I mean, this wasn't from Google, honest. These are my own notes.
So Bruce Dickinson didn't form the band? He
No,
wasn't there from the start? Oh,
No.
okay.
The tracks on the album explore themes such as horror, mythology, and religion. The second album is Peace of Mind, and it's the band's fourth studio album, released in '83, so just 1 year after Number of the Beast. The album features the iconic drumming of Nico McBrain and continues the band's exploration of themes such as war, mythology, and mental health. And pretty much every single song is about death as well, I've noticed. It's a recurring theme throughout all of the songs. Someone always gets killed or dies, or there's something horrific going on. So the first tracks, Number of the Beast, the first track is called Invaders, and that's versus the first track on Peace of Mind, which is a track called Where Eagles Dare. So, Invaders.
Can I just stop you quickly, Cath?
Uh-huh.
Before we begin the track battles, we have a bit of creative licensing for the two albums. Because Number of the Beast originally had 8 tracks and Peace of Mind had 9 tracks. However, the 1998 re-release of Peace of Mind featured of Number of the Beast featured a track called Total Eclipse, which was the B-side to Run to the Hills, and was slotted in at track 8, so that's what we're going to be doing.
Okay, so Invaders, it graphically depicts the violence and horror of a defence against Viking invasion, starting with the sighting of longboats and culminating in that's a hard word to say, last bloody stand against the invaders. So that's what that song's about. Let's discuss.
For me, we start off with 2 close tracks.
Yeah.
When I listen to the opening track of any album, my first question is, could the track open a concert? And these both could. But for me, I'm going for Where Eagles Dare because I absolutely hate the comical guitar wheedle in the chorus of Invaders.
Right. Okay, well, in which case I'll explain about what Eagles Dare is about as well. So it's based on the 1968 movie of the same name, Where Eagles Dare is a movie about a team of Allied soldiers.
Yeah, those soldiers.
Soldiers. Staging a daring rescue during World War II. A US general is being held captive in an imposing castle fort high in the Bavarian Alps. So that's what that song's about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I felt they were both reasonable. Not my favourite songs on the album, but I felt they're really similar as well. So I've sort of judged all of the songs on
similar.
Like if I can remember the lyrics, Chugga Chugga rating, Air Raid rating,
Chugga Chugga rated,
and likability. And they both scored fairly evenly. I couldn't really remember the lyrics that well of either of them. The similar sort of Chugga Chugga rating, and to be honest, the Air Raid rating on most of the songs on both of the albums is fairly high anyway. But yeah, I thought they were both pretty decent songs. Quite enjoyed them.
Who you voted for, or are we telling what the vote is when we've discussed them?
Okay, so I voted in favour of Where Eagles Dare, just because it's had slightly better Air Raid rating.
Well, I'll go next then. Yeah, I actually voted for When Eagles Dare only because it had quite a good drum beginning, and I quite like that. So it was nice, and also with Spotify it's really good because you also get the lyrics, and obviously, so if you're not driving, Ty, you can actually read the lyrics because there have been many songs you can't really pick. You know, when you first listen to it, you don't really listen to it. You listen to the feel of it and how it all sounds, and then unless sometimes you'll pick out certain lyrics, but so when you read them, you get a general. So The sideline of I didn't realise also how political Iron Maiden can be as well. On some tracks, they are really, in that sense. But there's a lot of death. You are right. But so I picked up on the but like mine was also Invaders, a little boring. It just went on.
No,
It went
really
on
boring.
and on. But then I put cool drums. So
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, my background is I was a drummer, by the way. So my take might be I might be listening to drums more than other things. So. And that's why I'll probably dig guitarists more, because they always get the limelight and the drummer gets nothing. Anyway, moving on.
There's a great little fact about Where Eagles Dare as well, with that the drum solo that it starts with. Nico was obviously looking to impress his new band, and they basically told him that they needed to start the song off with a drum solo. And he spent something like 20 odd hours coming up with a drum solo that incorporated every single one of his drums. It lasted for about 2 minutes, and he basically showed the band, and Steve Harris went, "Nah, mate, you want it to be like this," and that's it. That's what he did. The Steve Harris. This is what he basically recorded.
Yeah.
So, shall I go?
Yeah, please do.
So I don't think I'm going to upset the boat at all here, because very much like Psy, that chorus run. With the musical scales lesson in Invaders. No, thank you.
It's just Bruce's like Invaders.
Yeah, no, that just ruined it for me. But I think one of the things overarching in all these songs is, and I said this word before, is the sort of the datedness of it. So at the time, they must have been coming up with really cool, unusual lyrical ideas, and that runs through both albums. But some of them just don't work in hindsight. And Invaders for me is just, it's
bit
just
cringy, that chorus, isn't
a
it?
bit cringy. But the things that I particularly liked about Where Eagles Dare was it sounds a little bit proggy in places. They have a very long instrumental run, and there's bits of 70s prog rock in there, like Rush, I thought. Also, one other thing I noticed was it's almost like the invention of Southern metal, because at one point the guitars do this sort of dual harmony, which is just a massive thing in Southern metal, but they don't labour it too much, and I thought that was quite a nice little touch. So, plus I preferred the guitar solo on that one as well. So Where Eagles Dare for me.
Yeah. But both of them trying to, looking at the lyrics and trying to sing along to the songs. I think Bruce has said that some of the songs that Steve Harris wrote for him, it's difficult not to bite his tongue because he's having to fit so many syllables and words into a sentence. And they're both incredibly difficult songs to sing. So, makes it all the more impressive that he can do it.
I mean, listening to all the tracks, really, I think they are quite wordy. And, that's probably why they put a 14-hour guitar solo in them all for some reason. But I know they are quite wordy, and you have to, it's this thing quite, I'm impressed with his singing. It's just not my style. I just don't really like it. But the range and what he can do, I mean, it's very impressive. He's really good at what he does.
So I guess Where Eagles Dare wins first track.
It does.
And that was unanimous. Wasn't it? Was that all of us?
Yeah, I think so.
Ooh.
Aye, clean sweep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
clean sweep.
right.
No
Excellent.
controversy.
Right, track 2.
Right, ding ding. Moving on to the second track, which on the Number of the Beast album is a track called Children of the Damned. So Bruce has revealed that the lyrics and title of this song were directly inspired by Children of the Sea, a song by Black Sabbath, then fronted by Ronnie James Dio, who Bruce greatly admired. However, other sources say that the song was inspired by the 1963 film of the same name. And it's basically about 6 children with psychic abilities who are forced to battle for their survival against an inferior human race. The song describes the death of the last of the children as he steps out to face the humans, which were intent on destroying him by burning him at the stake, because that's what you would do with supernatural children. It's a deep and thought-provoking film worthy of the song in which it inspired. And that is versus Revelations. So this song is about Aleister Crowley, who claimed to be an antichrist as predicted in the Book of Revelations in the Bible, as opposed to the other Book of Revelations. It's one of the few Maiden songs written solely by Bruce Dickinson.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Right. So, let's see now. So, Children of the Damned. I thought it was a strange choice for the second song on the album, because Invaders sort of gets you going a little bit, quite an energetic song, and then this brings you right back down. Very slow, but it did remind me of their earlier tracks with Dianio.
Okay.
So it's got that sort of strange sort of, I don't know, a bit of punky feel to it. Whereas Revelations, I just thought, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a much stronger song. And it talks about all sorts of weird things as well. It talks about stuff that happens in Hindu philosophy and Egyptian stuff, and just there's a whole lot of stuff going on in that song. It's really interesting, and it's a great song. So that's the winner as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Stu.
Over to somebody else.
Stu.
Oh, me.
Help
Right,
it,
okay.
Stu.
This is the big which is the most evil. I don't know, or least evil. Revelation. Children of the Demand. Right. It's a very slow start and it's quite a corny song. However, I don't know anyone else any picked up on this, but anybody think that System of a Down nicked
Oh,
a bit of the guitar? Especially, do you know Toxicity?
I do.
And the first guitar break, when it all down, it's just like the jingly jangly guitar. That is this song, part of it. So it's a bit weird.
Well, just to add to that, in my written notes, I heard in the intro "Cemetery Gates" by Pantera.
Okay,
yeah,
yeah,
and then
I suppose,
and then later on there was another song which they evidently stole from this one, but I couldn't put my finger on it yet. It might come to me in due course, but it's a source song.
Yeah. But I put it's a long intro. It's quite nice breaks, and they have quite nice breaks. And Children of the Damned, slow start, very cool. that's my review. Very short. I don't know. I don't think I preferred. I think Children of the Damned. I think was just because I like Toxicity, and I know there's nothing to do with that really. It shouldn't be, but I don't know. It's just see out the two are just maybe because I identify with that because I went, oh, I've heard something like that before.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'm going to be more lenient to that song. So, but I thought the lyrics though were quite good in there. Hang on, where was my notes on the lyrics?
Again, I think the chorus is it's a bit wobbly and
Yeah.
Chorus.
Yeah. He was walking like a small child, but watch his eyes burn you away. Black holes in his gut. What the fuck are you talking about?
Setting the scene.
So they get my vote. Children of the Damned, just because it makes no sense.
Not Revelations.
No, it's a split vote this time.
Okay.
Okay, Si.
I went for. I'm going to shock Cath. I went for Children of the Damned, and it's a close call again. I like both of the songs, and if we were recording tomorrow, I would maybe pick Revelations. That's how close it is. It's right. This is one of the ones that I swapped between the two songs, but just because, and I'll mention it later on in the show, but my favourite Maiden is when Bruce is telling you a story, and I think he's really telling you. He's basically giving you the plot line of Children of the Damned.
It did make me want to watch it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like once I saw it, I was like, I haven't seen that film in so long, and it made me want to see the film, and that's pretty much the reason why I picked it.
Cool. Okay, over to you, Rob.
Well, I have gone for, drumroll please, Revelations. So Children of the Damned, I didn't know the bit about Sabbath in there, but when I listened
that might not be true.
Well, I thought it was very Sabbathy in the chorus. But apart from that, yes, it's slow. I didn't like the guitar solo. It was tappity tap. But I did appreciate the sort of woo section, which would have been a crowd sing-along favourite. So I can understand what they're trying to do there. But I went for Revelations. because although there was a lot of hit and miss musical moments, and the whole the walking like a small child and it is you.
I don't like the ending of it.
Just grated on me. But it won for me because I thought the guitar solo was really cool. I liked the background riff and pace, and I just thought this track flexed a few more musical muscles than Children of the Damned. So Revelations for me, which means
Eyes of the Nile are opening.
Yes,
We'll see.
Yes, exactly. Not for me, they weren't.
Right, excellent. So that's 2 out of 2 so far. This is going very well.
So that means we're actually going to put Revelations on the Super album because it's 2-2, and you have the overall vote for that one, Cath.
Yeah, well, of course, it's Revelations. So at the moment, Peace of Mind is winning over Number of the Beast, which I must say is a bit of a surprise because before we started doing this, I'd always, Number of the Beast seemed to be the better album. It's certainly the more well-known album of the two.
Yeah, well, things might be about to change when we come
Well,
to track
we'll see,
3.
won't we? So track 3 on Number of the Beast is The Prisoner, which quite clearly is based on the TV series of the same name, The Prisoner, which is created and starring Patrick McGowan.
Oh, that's great.
The lyrics describe the protagonist struggles with the concept of freedom. And on Peace of Mind, the track is called Flight of Icarus, and it tells the story of the Greek myth Icarus, who flew too close to the sun and fell to his death. Well, there's got to be some death in it somewhere. The song features memorable guitar riffs and a catchy chorus. Steve Harris has been quoted saying, "We tend to play it a little faster live. Looking back on it now, I feel we could have played it a faster speed on the album."
Yeah, I don't think that would help the song personally. But...
Oh, well, Stu.
Ooh, okay.
Stu, straight in there. Give us the lowdown.
Okay.
My vote's going to go to Prisoner. I'll get to Float the Icarus in a second because I do love Prisoner. I do love a good sample in a song. I just do. Great drums at the start. They just are.
Yeah.
And the bass line is brilliant. A really chuggy bass line is fantastic.
Lots of chugga in that one.
Yeah, nice drumming track. Well, and the guitar solo. I don't like guitar solos. I really don't. But that was a good drum track over the guitar solo to make it more interesting for me personally. It just made it a bit more dynamic. It was quite good.
Yeah.
My God, Flight of the Icarus. What a bad. I'm sorry. I've even written sorry in my notes. That's how bad I feel. It's terrible. It's like maybe because they've tried. Maybe because they shouldn't write pop songs and they've tried to write one, and it's so bad. It's like. Maybe the lyrics are okay. It's just the whole execution of everything else around it. It's like, no, stop. No chorus. Get rid of it. No, you don't. Need it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Right,
That's
okay.
Right.
that's
So it's
my,
a no from Stu.
It's a no from Stu. Cath.
Prisoner from me, though. That's my.
Okay.
I'm going to go last.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's one vote for The Prisoner.
Okay.
Stu. Si.
Right, so this is the second song off. We're only on track 3, and it's the second song off of Number of the Beast that's based on a TV show. It's like, I bet the rest of the guys were like, we need to keep fucking Harris away from the TV when he's writing songs. It's like, all I could think of when I saw that, and it was like, have you ever heard the Lonely Island track where they get Michael Bolton in to write the hook?
Nope. Can't say I have.
You've got to look it up. I'll send you all the link. It's brilliant. It's like, he's basically a movie file, and he's like, all of his hooks are based on like Jack Sparrow or other like movies, and that's what I think they must be feeling like with Harris, because it's like, Jesus Christ, it's the third track and it's the second TV show. Now, I love the chorus of Prisoner. I think it's a brilliant chorus.
Yeah.
It sums up the TV show The Prisoner in a chorus, but I feel that the transition between the chorus and the verses is really jarring. It's like the chorus doesn't belong to that song. And as such, I went for Flight of Icarus because I just found it more rounded, more smooth, and a little bit more polished.
Okay.
Wow.
That's good reasons.
Yeah. I suppose it is polished being a pop song, I suppose, yeah.
Well,
Okay, well, so The Prisoner, well, back in the day, that was an absolute classic. But having listened to it again, great opening riff, great sort of Maiden typical gallop. It's a bit predictable, but that's okay. But I don't think this track has aged well at all. And the pre-chorus and the chorus to me are so cheesy. They're so cheesy. However, this was up against Flight of Icarus. And in my notes for Flight of Icarus, my notes start with the words... Exactly, you've got it right, Cath. They start with the words, oh dear. So, Flight of Icarus, it starts great. There's a story developing, there's a good riff, and then we hit that chorus.
Oh, fuck, it's so...
How does the chorus go? Yeah, okay.
Followed by, in the first chorus, Bruce Dickinson attempts to be Dio for a second.
He does love Dio.
Yeah.
It has to be said.
And then, now, I totally appreciate they were probably trying to do something different back in the day, and whether that thing was they were trying to make a hit single, but all they've done is move what I like about Maiden further away from my ear. So,
right.
Not two strong tracks, but I'm going for The Prisoner.
Right.
Simply because it's up against Flight of Icarus, which I did not like at all.
Okay, so when I listened to The Prisoner, I found the lyrics to be very memorable. It's very easy to go, oh yeah, la la la, sing along, no problem, didn't have to read anything. Sort of reasonable chug and air raid rating. But it's quite a likeable tune as well. I quite enjoyed listening to that one. So that one got a pretty decent score. And then Flight of Icarus, so could surprisingly remember pretty much all of the lyrics. Thought it had brilliant chug rating and air raid rating. So based on that, it gets my vote. So it's 2-2 on that one.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know, I do like both the songs. But I guess because I voted for Flight of Icarus, despite two of you disliking it, it's going to go on the album, I'm afraid. We're basically, the album is going to be Peace of Mind so far because we've got the first 3 tracks.
Wow. Yeah, well, that could still change.
I think it might well do, although, so the next track's number 4. On Number of the Beast, it's 22 Acacia Avenue. So interestingly, and I didn't know, but
so funny, the song.
The song is the sequel to Charlotte the Harlot from the band's previous album, and it tells the story of a prostitute named Charlotte and her life on 22 Acacia Avenue. Which it came as a surprise because 13-year-old me thought it was a song about a fun nightclub. Just goes to show how wrong you can be. And that's up against Die With Your Boots On. And this song is about a person who refuses to give up their principles, even in the face of adversity. The lyrics are inspired by lead singer Bruce Dickinson's interest in the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche.
Or Nietzsche, as some people call him.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to pronounce it. I did my best. And so, despite being about an apocalyptic future, the song was written at the time of the Cold War, and many thought that a nuclear holocaust was about to happen. I found it quite upbeat and cheerful. It was quite a fun song. So, but it just couldn't compete against 22 Acacia Avenue. I just really love that song. Could remember the lyrics. Not quite so much of a chug rating as other songs, but reasonable air raid rating, and just very likeable. Whereas Die With Your Boots On, hard to remember the lyrics for that one. Slightly more chug rating, but slightly less air raid rating.
I'll give you some of the lyrics to that. You're gonna die.
Oh,
die.
well, I mean, everyone knows the chorus.
If you're gonna die, in brackets, if you're gonna die, if you're gonna die, you're gonna die. Die with your boots on.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, why not? So yeah, 22 Acacia Avenue is getting the vote from me.
Wow.
So Rob,
Excellent.
your turn.
I've got a very different opinion.
Okay.
So I have written on my notes here, 22 Acacia Avenue, a really difficult song to like. It's nice musically, the verses are okay, but there's just too many change. I mean, I like prog rock, but there's too many songs slammed together, and they just seem to keep. Oh, we're finished with that bit. We'll do a completely different bit, and they've just sort of wedged it together into one song. But the bit that got me was they stray into Judas Priest territory with lyrics
What
like
do you mean?
with like biter Exciter.
Oh,
Yeah, that just didn't do it for
No.
me. The guitar solo really wailed, I thought, but it just wasn't enough to save this song. If
Fair
they
enough.
pulled that bit out and made it another song, it would have been great, but they didn't.
Yeah.
So Die With Your Boots On, I just thought was a better, just a more coherent experience. But funnily enough, the thing I liked about it is when he sung If You're Gonna Die, and then they have like the harmony line of If You're Gonna Die, he's mumbling in the background, and I really like that.
If you're gonna die, if you're gonna die,
If
if
you're
you're gonna die.
if you're gonna die.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, was it a single? I wasn't sure. It had slightly.
It feels like it might have been.
Yeah.
Mm.
But even the backing vocals just got away with the nostalgia side of Cheese, so they just didn't stray too
Right.
badly in. I thought it was a very Motorhead style title, which I quite liked. But yeah, just unlike Acacia Avenue, it just seemed to be a better sum of its musical parts.
Oh, fair
And
enough.
it had a total air raid siren from Bruce as well on that.
Oh,
So,
I don't know. Maybe
yeah.
that's why I liked it so much then.
I went for Die With Your Boots On.
Right,
so,
Die With Your Boots
yeah.
On. Si, over to you.
Yeah, it wasn't a single. The only two singles off of Peace of Mind were The Trooper and Would You Believe Flight of Icarus.
Really?
Right, yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah, that was. You could tell
Wow.
it was gonna
Which is like, that's blows our mind after what we've just discussed.
Mm.
So, yeah, 22 is obviously the continuation of the Charlotte series.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't think it was that obvious.
And it probably has the most unique parts of not only a Maiden song, but probably for the whole genre. Genre. As well. I was
Welcome
trying
to the Speech Impediment Club.
The genre of Nietzsche.
The genre of Nietzsche.
Thank you.
But they do combine, but I'm not sure how well they combine. But then you've got Die With Your Boots On, which has got a pretty good chugga-chug rating. It's pretty high up.
Yeah,
It's definitely,
does.
the chugga-chugs are there.
Mm.
And I kind of got the feeling of George Orwell's 1984.
Ah, yes, I think that was mentioned when I was Googling it,
It's,
trying to get some fun facts.
yeah, it's kind of like the enemy, where the enemy's not the same, but there's always one to fuel people's fears, and it doesn't matter who the enemy is, you're going to Die With Your Boots On, fighting for your leader, regardless of who it is and where it is. So yeah, it's a tough one. It's another one that I've flip-flopped on.
Yeah.
Because
You got to
What
make
you
a
going to
call.
go with?
as a standalone song, I'm probably going to go with Die With Your Boots On.
Right. Okay,
Okay,
so
wow.
two votes for Boots.
Yeah.
Stu, over to you.
Stu. Let's hear it.
Right.
Right.
I'm with Cath on this one. I really like that
Right,
song.
okay.
I don't know. I liked the story. It was a great story. I was like, oh, okay. My favourite, I wrote down my favourite lines is, "You can take my honest word for it. She'll teach you more than you can know." I mean, come on. What's he doing? And
He's just
can I
come out of
just-
22 Acacia Avenue, clearly.
yeah, but yeah, I didn't know this was a. Okay, for me, I got no background that this was a sequel to any song. I've never even heard the other song, so I had no context in that one. So the song as a standalone works, because I understood exactly what he was talking about and what he wanted to convey. Bit weird. So, I mean, if they wrote it now, they would probably use different words. And I
Yeah.
think they'd should it slightly different, or you might get cancelled or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Other
obviously,
words
other-
than biter and exciter.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah. No, that would just be cancelled from the Guild of Songwriters. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that one will be. But I don't know. It's also a very different time as well. As well. But I don't know. Die With Your Boots On. It was just.
You were really impressed with that, weren't you? I think, yeah, you needed to share your reactions with us when you first listened to it.
He's researching to the lyrics.
Yeah. I think you were so disgusted with it. You had to
No,
tell
I
us.
just thought it was hilarious. I was just thinking, you're going to die. It was, honestly, you're going to die. But I don't know. I just found that I don't know. I prefer the storytelling in 22 Acacia Avenues. Acacia.
Acacia.
Yeah,
As in the
Acacia.
tree.
I just prefer the storytelling. Yeah, the guitar solo is a little bit jarring at the end because it goes really slow. It goes unnaturally slow, really, and then it picks back up. But again, I'm not a guitar solo person, so I was quite happy for it. to skip it and then move on to the actual rest of the song. So yeah, so 22 gets my
wow.
vote.
Well, it's another draw, so I'm gonna have my way, which is 22 Acacia Avenue.
There you go. Which is not in line with the actual album.
Number
Is
has
that
its
the
first
first
track.
That's the first one I've voted for from Number of the Beast.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So still 3-1
Talking
to
of
Peace of Mind.
which, our next track from Number of the Beast is the title track, Number of the
Segue.
Beast. It's reckoned to be Maiden's most famous song and an absolute corking track, in my opinion. The lyrics describe a person's encounter with the devil and the temptation to sell their soul. The song was inspired by the band's experiences with religious fundamentalism and censorship. Fun fact, the band wanted Vincent Price to narrate the beginning of the album, but apparently he asked for an obscene amount of money to do it, which they couldn't afford. So therefore they used a BBC radio presenter who I thought did an excellent job of it. So that's Number of the Beast, and that's up against The Trooper, which is really like one of Iron Maiden's most famous songs, and it tells the story of the charge of the Light Brigade during the Crimean War. The song features galloping guitar riffs and a memorable chorus. It's a regular fixture in the band's concerts, and Bruce Dickinson, the vocalist, always waves a Union flag during live performances. So, I mean, The Trooper is an amazing track. I absolutely love The Trooper, but I also really love Number of the Beast as well. And it was so difficult trying to pick between them because, yeah, they're both. I can remember the lyrics.
If the listeners could see the pain in your face right now, it's just like, how do I pick?
Brilliant track. So, Number of the Beast, top marks for lyrics, memorable lyrics, top marks for chug rating, top marks for air raid rating. Pretty much top marks across the board. And then The Trooper just couldn't quite remember the lyrics as much as Number of the Beast, and ever so slightly less air raid rating, which means that Number of the Beast won it. And I'm kind of disappointed because I really love The Trooper as well. But for me, it's
stunned.
Number of the Beast.
Wow.
You stunned or disappointed?
I'm stunned.
I'm stunned.
So I'm going to pass over to Stu now. Me.
Right, I actually picked Trooper because as a complete Iron Maiden novice, I just found this song a bit more accessible. It was just, you're right. You say this was a single?
The Trooper?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, and this is the one they play all the. Actually, it was a Number of the Beast, though, single as well. I've heard Number of the Beast. Out of the two, I'm sure I've heard Number of the Beast. I've got memories of it.
Most well-known track, I would say.
Yeah. But I think I would just prefer The Trooper. It's
such a good song.
It's quite sad as well.
It is quite sad.
It's just like, and it's just
agonising picking. I mean, you saw my face. I'm like, I still can't decide.
I know.
So good.
I'll pick The Trooper for you. There you go.
Right, thank you.
That's for you. I'm doing that for you.
Thank you. Si.
Yeah, so we've been discussing Album Armageddon for just over 2 months before we've started to record this, and we literally knew we were doing Maiden at some point in the first year from that day.
Yeah.
Since then, I've literally been going backward and forward on this one track battle on a daily basis. It's literally so hard to choose for me between 2 of the top 5 Maiden songs. Now, Number leans more towards Bruce sitting you down and telling you a story, which is always, as I said, my favourite type of Maiden.
Always good.
And that stroke scream at the end of the first verse is just
fantastic.
Quintessential Bruce. However, apart from Nico, by the time they wrote and recorded Trooper, I felt the band had gelled significantly more. And the song feels more encapsulating because of this. However, to flip it back, I think Nico actually makes the song. With Trooper telling the story, as you said, with the British Cavalry charge, Nico's drums are nothing short of perfect for conveying the galloping of horses during that charge.
Yeah, they are good drums. They are good drums.
So, yeah, it's... I'm still trying to make a decision. That's how close it is.
So, listeners, only if you could see the face on Simon at the moment.
It's like
it's any such a hard thing to choose between.
Yeah, literally any other way round of these tracks, both of these songs would be on our play list at the end.
Absolutely.
I am going to go
Flick a coin.
with...
Flick a coin.
Oh, just because I love Nico's drums, it's going to be
Trooper. Right, okay. Over to you, Rob.
Good choice.
Okay, so I knew when I looked at the track versus track, I knew this was going to be the big battle.
Yeah.
Because these are just iconic
incredible.
Maiden songs. However, having listened back to them, it's a lot easier than I thought it was going to be.
Really?
Ooh.
Do
Yes.
tell.
One of these songs, I think, stands up in many, 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 many ways, and the other one does not. And the one that I've gone for the total win, total nostalgia, great iconic riff, pretty cool lyrically. Also includes a little crowd sing-along moment, which is going to be good live. Great trading solos, good story. The go-to track from both albums for me is The Trooper.
Right. Okay.
And just to fill in the gap on Number of the Beast, the problem I have with Number of the Beast is lyrically it is so aged. Now, Iron Maiden have never been remotely satanic. You know, they're just British geezers down the pub. So what was probably a good business move at the time to be, you know, oh, God, they're talking about Satan, that's going to get them a bit of notoriety. Great business move, just seems hackneyed now.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So, yeah, the Trooper all over for me.
Yeah, well, to be honest,
Excellent.
I'm happy to go with the general consensus on this, that the Troopers won out of the two of them, because, yeah, I love both of the tracks, and, yeah, it's a great one. So that one's going in. Right then, so the next one, I think it's going to be a lot easier to choose between. So we've got on Number of the Beast a track called Run to the Hills. So this song is about the European colonisation of the Americas and the conflict between Native Americans and white settlers. The lyrics were inspired by lead singer Bruce Dickinson's interest in history. Verse 1 is written from the perspective of the Indians, particularly the Cree, which was one of the largest groups of indigenous North American peoples. And that is up against a track called Still Life. So this song is about a man who's struggling with mental health issues. He sees demons in a pool of water and wants to commit suicide with his girlfriend by drowning in the pool. The lyrics were inspired by the band's own experiences with mental health and depression.
Wow.
So the reason why this one is easy for me, and I've kind of disagreed with my voting because I've listened to the tracks a few times since doing the scoring. I just really hate the opening to this song. The guitar just really gets on my nerves.
Which
It's
one?
a
I
good
think I can
song.
guess.
But the guitar's just irritating. I don't like it. That guitar really puts me off. Whereas I think Still Life, it's a sadder song and it's not anywhere near as memorable, but it doesn't irritate me. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's
Is that because I have this thing as well where I really like a particular band. I'm not going to mention the band, but I really like a band, but they release a single.
Yeah.
And it ends up being my most hated song because that's all you fucking hear all the time is that one song.
Yeah.
And is this this equivalent for you?
Yeah, it's a brilliant song, but the beginning is just like it makes me cringe a little bit. Like I just really don't like the beginning of it, which is a massive shame because it's a really good song and the story itself is really interesting.
There is a great joke about playing Run to the Hills in a guitar shop when you're trying a guitar, but playing it on all the wrong notes.
Oh my god!
Yeah, you sound great. You should definitely buy that guitar.
Yeah, so I don't really want to vote for Still Life because it's not that great a track, but it's just up against one of the worst beginnings of a Maiden song pretty much ever.
Beginning aside, if you can just edit the beginning out,
Then
it
would win hands down because it's just a brilliant song and played really well. Love everything about it, just can't tolerate the first 60 seconds of it.
So you're willing to bin the song just because of the first 15 seconds, no, 30 seconds of the song.
Yeah, that'll teach him.
Yeah, Well, see, I actually voted that was a better song because it's memorable lyrics, great chug rating, and brilliant air raid rating. So it's got full marks for everything. And Still Life, couldn't really remember the lyrics, didn't think there was much of a chug rating, slightly more of an air raid rating, but it just didn't really score as highly. And it's just a bit of a downer, really, on quite an energetic album. And yeah, I guess I'm torn because I think if it wasn't for that bloody intro, then the Run to the Hills would win hands down. But yeah, I'll vote for Still Life just because of that intro.
Wow.
Stu.
Well, I'm going to go for Run to the Hills.
Right.
Because, any song which uses a drum track, ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da, run to the hills. Yeah, that's why I was never a singer in the band, by the way. Anyway, moving on from that.
Oh, yeah, the chorus is terrible as well.
No, but it's just, to me, that is just, that's Iron Maiden. That's
fair enough.
Right, because I'm no affiliate at all with them in any way. It's just that when I used to go to clubs or whatever, that's the song they used to play and whatever. So, and I don't know, I like this because it's corny. It's ridiculously corny.
Yeah.
You can't get much more corny than that, really. It's just, but I don't know, it's fun at the same time, even though the lyrics are, what did I put? Yeah, very disturbing lyrics. When you actually read them, it's like, fucking hell. But, but it's a good pop song, and it does get everybody going. So, and Still Life, to be fair, I can't even remember it. I didn't even make any notes. That's so memorable that was.
Yeah.
And, I'm just reading some of the lyrics, and it is a very sad song. I mean, it's very clever the way he's wordsmithing of it, and, it's good in that sense. But, yeah, the music was a bit bland or whatever, so I'm going to go for To the Hills.
Okay.
So, well, for the hills, sorry, not To the Hills.
Run around the hills? Run over the hills.
Yeah, run up the hill.
Coming around the
other
hills.
side
Up
again.
and round 'em.
Si, over to you.
I fucking love Run to the Hills.
Wow.
Right, okay.
Telling, as you said, like telling a story.
Especially the start. You love the start a bit more than anything.
Like you said, it's like telling the story of the Indian Wars from both perspectives. The Native Americans in the two verses before the first chorus, and then the white man after the chorus. But Still Life is actually in my top 5 Maiden songs.
Wow. Why? What do you like about it?
It sounded more like a demand than a request.
What are you thinking, man? Why? Tell us now. Why?
Top 5?
It's Bruce telling you a story from a first-person perspective, which again is always my favourite type of Bruce. And it is just like he's sitting you down and telling you like the problems he's having with mental health.
Can I just ask what other types of Bruce there are?
Yes, can you list all the Bruces?
There are many Bruces. Action Bruce. If you've heard Skunkworks, there are many Bruces.
Hawaiian Bruce.
What track's that? We should have done that one.
But I just think like it's clearly like they, as you said, they're struggling with mental health issues. Probably in a time when
Probably should laugh.
Stop laughing.
But in a time when like mental health wasn't a thing, you know, and it's if you look at it from the current day and from a perspective of someone that's suffering with depression, then it's a huge track.
Mental health, Bruce.
mental Bruce.
Oh, God, what happens when mental health Bruce meets Hawaiian Bruce?
I think the world's a better place.
I think I've pulled myself together now.
This song's very serious.
It's a very serious song.
A misplaced sense of...
Oh my God.
Oh, dear.
Right, so does that get your vote there?
You know, it's lucky you're not like this in real life. Today at work, we're going to talk about mental health issues. And Cath just falls about laughing.
Oh, we're not getting the sticker
so
for
where
mental
were
health, are we?
Oh. Si, which one did you prefer?
Still Life.
Yeah, we're going with Still Life.
Oh God.
Right, Rob, over to you.
Okay. So, well, I mean, having heard this, it could well change my mind, but I'm going to stick to my guns. So I honestly thought Run to the Hills was just going to lose by default because I've just heard it so many times over the years.
Yeah.
I don't like the intro. I don't like the chorus, and the verse is pretty good. However, if I was at a Maiden gig and they played Run to the Hills, I'm sure I would be larking about singing the chorus.
It's a crowd
with anyone.
pleaser.
It's a totally different track from studio to live, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We'll talk about Still Life. There's nothing I like about this song particularly.
We probably shouldn't talk about Still Life because I might have to leave the room again.
Now, what's really interesting is, Cath, you've given us an intro to each track about what it's about.
Yeah.
And I talked about Dated before and Delivery, and your summation of what the track's about is always like, oh God, yeah, that sounds really cool. But the delivery, it just lurches between brilliant and naff.
Okay.
And never resides somewhere in the middle on that one. And the Madness chorus line I don't like. It sounds like a B-side to me. The guitar solos were cool. They should have been they deserve to be in a better song. But what really flipped it for me, I happened to listen to the remastered version that was on Run to the Hills. And I never noticed before what Nico's actually doing on the drums.
Okay.
And he's basically playing disco metal at quite a pace. I always thought the hi-hat was quite slow-paced on that one, but he's doing it in sort of 16ths. And that, to me, I just thought, yeah, that's brilliant. So, Run to the Hills for me.
Right. So, again, it's a draw. With 2 votes on each. I don't know what I want to go for. I think
I would say, Cath, right, this is just me. I would personally pick Run to the Hills just because you only don't like the very start, and that's it.
Well, also, I don't like the chorus much either, but I can't disagree with what Rob said, that if they played it at a gig, I would be much more into it than Still Life, I think.
Would they ever play Still Life at a gig?
I don't know. I mean, I've never seen them. I mean, they've never played any of the live albums that I've listened to. They've played that. Still Life.
I like Still Life. I like the story of Still Life, but I don't think they would ever play it live. I don't think it.
No.
You wouldn't put it down as a quintessential.
Well, Cath might, because mental health cracks her up. So, if they played Still Life, she'd be guffawing in the aisles.
Now, if anybody's suffering from mental health, please seek help.
Run to the Hills is going to go on the album.
Ooh.
Rather than Still Life.
There we go.
Because I just, I might not be able to contain myself if it went on.
Number of the Beasts fighting back a little bit here now.
A little bit, yeah. Right, so now we're on track 7, which is a track called Gangland. This track is about organised crime and the violence that often accompanies it. The lyrics were inspired by the band's experiences with the seedy side of the music industry, and it's considered the most unpopular track on the album. And Quest for Fire. The song is based on the 1981 film of the same name, which explores the struggle for survival during the prehistoric era. The lyric describes the discovery of fire and its importance for human evolution. And I think the thing I like about this song is that there's a vicious, angry battle fought over the fire, which kind of made me laugh. Although, not as much as Still Life. So out of the two, I think Quest for Fire, even though the lyrics a little bit cheesy, but it just made me feel happy and I enjoyed it. So I'm voting for Quest for that. Can you hear my cat?
I think if you play these two songs together, I think you see how much more technical a drummer Nico is over Clive Burr. It's very. I find Gangland really basic, and
right.
And
Quest for
Fire feels a little bit more complete as a song. However, I do think that Quest is the worst song on the Peace of Mind album. However, that's probably because the bar of that album is so high. That just because it's the worst track on the album doesn't mean necessarily it's a bad track. And yeah, I think I'm going to throw my hat into the ring for fire.
Okay, Stu.
I chose Gangland.
Why's that then?
Because The Quest for Fire, here's my notes, a very odd song about cavemen and fire. That's what I put as my notes.
See, that's where you went wrong,
So
Stu.
I've distilled it right down to its very core essence.
You were basing it on being fire. It's
was it?
Fire.
fire.
Oh, fire. I don't know. Again, without having any connection to Iron Maiden, it's just, I don't know. I just preferred the right at the start.
Yeah.
That was probably a punk drum riff, really, right at the start, and it was just a nice driving chuggy song, and it was good lyrics in there. The Quest for Fire, I don't know. It's about what Rob is saying about a few songs. They are corny as fuck. They just don't stand up, really. It's just, hang on, let me try and find an example. I did. This might take. It's I don't know. It's just in a time when dinosaurs walked the earth, when the land was swamp and the caves were home. Oh, what? Yeah, all right then, mate. All right, okay.
You're not really putting a poetic delivery on that.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
In my lovely black country accent. You're right.
I know, it sounds more like the guy you meet down the pub, isn't it? It's like you turn around and say, "Enjoy your night, mate."
I don't know. Down drawn by the quest for fire. They searched all through the land, drawn by the quest. No, sorry, I'm out. I'm done. No,
Okay.
I'm out.
Right, fine.
I'm out. No, so definitely Gangland.
Gangland. Right, Rob, over to you.
Okay, so Gangland, my summation is it had a real Motorhead feel about it.
Yes.
It was an absolutely Maiden middle eight with the guitar harmonies. It was okay. It was nothing outstanding. Quest for Fire had one problem, and that's a particular note that Bruce hits on the second line on the first two verses, which just grated completely.
Can you do that? Can you demonstrate it for us?
No, I would
Just
not
gonna have
presume.
to listen to it.
No, yeah, that's right. You're going to have to go away and listen to it. I think they did a video for Quest for Fire. I do believe I watched it, unless it was a dream. And yeah, it did nothing to help my opinion of it. So by default, I thought 2 weak tracks, but I'll go for Gangland on the balance.
Right, again, it's a draw. So it's going to be Quest for Fire.
Fire.
Yep.
Fire.
Right then. So number 8, track 8, on the Number of the Beast, Total Eclipse.
Yep.
So Total Eclipse is a doomsday song describing the catastrophic end of the world by ecological disaster. Before the album was released, the band had trouble deciding whether the song or Gangland should be included on the album. They eventually chose Gangland. Blah 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 blah, stuff that Saya explained earlier on. I've never heard this track before, therefore didn't score very highly. Thought it was okay, but not heard it before. Not very, just sort of average. Versus a track called Sun and Steel. So this song is about the legendary Japanese samurai Miyamoto Musashi. And I think I've pronounced that correctly. Thank you. Considered by some to be the greatest samurai who ever lived. He's said to have won his first duel at the age of 13, devoting the rest of his life to perfecting his swordsmanship, not unlike Bruce himself. It explores the themes of honour, sacrifice, and determination. I thought it was a stronger track out of the two of them. I enjoyed listening to it and I enjoyed learning about it as well. So, yep, that gets my vote. Sun and Steel. Stu.
Sun and Steel also gets my vote, but I recognise it from somewhere. I must have heard it somewhere before. I don't know. But I just put on my notes, nice little pop song about a killer. If you think about it, it is. And I liked it because it was on the shorter side. It was 3 minutes 27, that one. It was like a nice, complete package. It's like short, to the point, good in that sense. Total Eclipse. Where do I recognise the start from? Can somebody help me? Is it being used in a sample? Does another band use it? Or
yeah, it did sound kind of familiar, but then it just sounded a bit.
I've heard. Is it being used in a sample? It's probably being used in a sample or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, what is it? It's going to be 40 years old, roughly, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
The guitar and the rest of the song is a bit.
Commercial,
but
maybe.
Yeah, I've written my notes, but maybe I should have just read the lyrics because I've said I don't know what the song is actually about.
A Doomsday
Now,
song.
did I read the lyrics and I still don't know what the song's about? Or did
End
I
of
not
the world
bother?
by ecological disaster. See, I couldn't figure that out.
Yeah, but you looked that up on Google.
I did look that up on Google because I know nothing about this song. It wasn't on the album that I grew up with.
Yeah.
So it's new for me.
So, but Sun Still's the better. What you're saying, the air rating and the chug rating, and it's just it's a better song.
Yeah,
so
Sun definitely has that chugga chug
It's a good song.
score going all over, and the chorus is Bruce again, isn't it? It's like if you looked up Iron Maiden choruses, this would probably be a great example of what an Iron Maiden chorus is
Or can be.
Aye. Yeah.
Oh, you went pirate there. Can be I.
And I also,
Sorry, Captain.
I also think if Sun and Steel, if we hadn't included Total Eclipse, it would have gone up against Gangland, and it would have beaten that as well for me. It's better than both songs that they struggled with to decide what's going on the album or to be a B-side.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Sun and Steel for me as well.
Right. Okay, Rob.
Cool. Well, Total Eclipse.
I mean, it doesn't really matter what you think because Sun and Steel's one anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'll just fill in a couple of minutes with pointlessly talking, if that's okay. So yeah, let's really consider Total Eclipse for a minute, shall we? Well, Total Eclipse, lovely 70s intro, reminded me of a cross between themselves, Rush and Judas Priest in the 70s, until the breakdown where they go full Maiden mode. Overall, felt like a filler track. The ending was quite nice and epic on Total Eclipse. I thought that was quite good. But Sun and Steel, the thing that got me was the chorus. I don't normally like when Bruce double tracks his vocals, but I thought it really worked on this one. I think they were at risk of overusing the chorus at the end because they repeat it about 4 times. But yeah, I just thought this one, it was just better across the board. So yeah, Sun and Steel for me as well.
Well, it's unanimous, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, Sun and Steel going on the album. Right, so that brings us to the last track to discuss. So yeah, Number of the Beast album. The track is called Hallowed Be Thy Name. The title comes from the Christian Lord's Prayer, better known as Our Father, whilst the song itself is a first-person account of a condemned man who's about to be executed. The song was inspired by the band's interest in the death penalty and capital punishment. And that's versus To Tame a Land. So this track was inspired by the science fiction novel Dune by Frank Herbert. The lyrics describe the struggle for power on the desert planet of Arrakis and feature atmospheric guitar riffs. However, Frank Herbert refused to allow the band to call the song Dune, and then so Bruce Dickinson referred to Frank Herbert as a bit of a... because, among other things, he said that if we called this track Dune, he would sue our arses off. And Steve Harris reckons it's the best song he's ever written.
But they used the word Dune in the song constantly.
Yeah.
Well, they just weren't allowed to call it Dune.
I think Frank Herbert just wanted Hawaiian Bruce to sing.
Don't start me off. Right, okay, so Hallowed Be Thy Name gets my vote because I think this track is absolutely amazing. Possibly the best track they've ever released. It's got the most impressive vocals, songwriting, and instrumentals of any Maiden track. The song is absolutely on fire and totally takes off during the guitar solo. Yeah, I absolutely love this track. This is the best track of any Maiden album, full stop.
Right,
wow.
So if we all vote against this, you know where she's going to use the veto card. Don't you?
Yeah.
Napalm Death card, you know what's going to
I
be
can
used.
predict Napalm Death if it goes the wrong way. Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's you're talking about better than Aces High, better than Power Slave.
Yep.
You know, this
It's
is
a
highfalutin
magnificent
talk.
track. It's a tour de force.
Wow. Do you want to talk about Tame a Land at all, or?
Well,
It went up against Hallowed By Thy Name, so notes.
No.
That's it.
Okay.
not really. I mean, it's a fine song, but if it's up against Hallowed Be Thy Name, anything up against Hallowed Be Thy Name is just going to lose. To Tame Land, I didn't remember the lyrics. The chug rating was pretty good. Not so much of an A-raid rating on this track, surprisingly. But there's good bass guitar from Steve Harris, and it's reasonably likeable, but it doesn't stand a chance.
Wow.
So there you go.
Well,
conclusive.
To maybe throw a spanner in the works, or maybe not. For me, the ending of Tamer Land just has that feeling that you've just read a good book and you're closing the pages for the last time. But
what you mean? You can't reread it?
You can't reread it. No, never again.
But is that really what you want for the last track, or do you want to go out on a massive high?
This is the thing. It's the last track, and it kind of puts a full stop at the end of the album. But there is a but. I am in your camp, Cath. For me, Hallowed is arguably, or not even arguably, Hallowed
Quite
is
clearly
Maiden's greatest song they've written. With
wow.
the emotion that comes out, you know what that condemned man is feeling, and it's untouchable, as you said, by not and just any other track on these two albums, any other Maiden track. It's still it's the number one track, and to go for the running theme, that lyric of Running Low, how Bruce sings that at the end of the first verse, just before that main riff starts.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
Just blows you away.
Yeah, 100%. So, yeah, I am firmly in that camp of Hallowed is the greatest Maiden track ever written.
Yeah.
Good grief. You heard it here, folks.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Wow.
Right, Stu, what did you think?
Well, I did actually vote for Hallowed Thy Name, so you've got that in the bag.
Right.
So well done, you. Well done. You didn't know to use Napalm Death or anything. It's a very slow start, and to be fair, I can't stand songs what use big church bells. Gone.
Yeah. it's just like the scene.
Oh, come on. No, it's just so corny. I know what the song's about, the death penalty and all that, but like, come on. I mean, of all the instruments in the world you could pick from, you know what we need, lads? We need to go to the church and we need to ring that fucker. Well, all right, it'll go on the track.
To be fair, Stu, when they were actually killing people with the death penalty, they didn't bring out the vuvuzelas.
And the kazoos. The last part was nice, and also you've got some yeahs in that song, so it's a nice little sing song.
Yeah,
at the gig about death penalty, always good.
It's always a classic singing about death penalty.
Yeah. The Time of Land. I'll just put a song. I've never heard June in a song before. That was it. Really, it was just like, it's about June.
Yeah,
that was it. I like June. I really like it. It's a great book, great film. Well, the modern film is great. The other ones a bit
bit cheesy.
But it's if you are an Iron Maiden fan, I can't see why you would even.
There's no contest.
Time of the Land has got no chance at all. I don't understand unless Rob.
Well,
again, here he comes with his pointless talking for a few minutes because the decision's already been made. Let's talk about To Tame a Land, shall we? So I thought intro brilliant. I like the sort of spooky chord change, and I sort of like the Eastern modes in it. I thought this would get totally rolled over by Hallowed Be Thy Name, but musically, it's really nice.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
I don't have a problem with the concept of June in a song. I just don't like the rhythmic delivery of it. He's gone into syllable overdrive here and trying to cram in as many.
That's Steve Harris's songwriting for you.
Well, if that's the best thing he's ever come up with, then well done, Steve. It's a good foreshadower though for the stuff that they were getting up to later with the sort of concept albums. So they were starting to learn how to write longer concept pieces. But Hallowed Be Thy Name, the intro, the low-held note, the melody, the Sabbathness, the epicness, the spacious riff, the melody line. It's got it all. I think I listened to it for 2 minutes and it just went, you can't beat this. So, Hallowed Be Thy Name all over. Yeah. And a great crowd sing-along bit as well. You know, you can imagine them singing that long note as it starts to build up.
And everyone asphyxiates trying to hold it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, Hallowed Be Thy Name.
Right.
I don't think it's the best track they've ever written. But it's certainly well up there. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, fantastic. So yeah, that concludes our first episode then. So just to recap on our album that we've created from voting on our best tracks, we've got Where Eagles Dare, Revelations, Flight of Icarus, 22 Acacia Avenue, The Trooper, Run to the Hills, Quest for Fire, Sun and Steel, and Hallowed Be Thy Name. What an amazing album this would be
Very
with all of
good.
these tracks.
You say that.
And you'll be
I'll
able,
have to insist upon it.
and you'll be able to find that on Spotify once we upload it under the playlist name of. I'm trying to remember what it was. Was it Piece of the Beast?
Number of the Peace of Mind. Number of the Mind.
Number of the Mind. Is it Number of the Mind?
Piece of my beast.
It was Piece of the Beast or something.
Piece of the Beast. We will find it under.
Yeah.
We'll put a link to it in the description.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, what a professional ending.
And even though we didn't like the idea of them, we've got a few domestics as well. And you can if you love the podcast, we have a Facebook group that you can join. You just need to search for Album Armageddon on Facebook and you'll find us. You can join us on Twitter at Album Armageddon. And you can join us again when we take an artist whose album has twice been named the best album of their genre to Album Armageddon.
Ooh.